Okay, in the last video, we put together the default Streamlit component or custom component and set up our environment for actually building our own. So what we have at the moment is pretty simple. We haven't really done anything. We just have this custom component from Streamlit, and we can see the code for this component as well if we have a look over here. So this is just a default component. We're not actually doing anything here. We're just actually not in that file. It's in the init.py here. We're just running this using nothing more than this code here. Okay, so we have this my component object, but that's all that you can see where we're like clicking and everything else. So this here, this hello James, click me, and this hello world, click me. That's all it is. It's just that little object. So what we want to do is actually create like a card component based on Material UI, which is what you see here, like this sort of card. We're not going to make it that fancy, although it's really not difficult. If you want to take it a little bit further, you definitely can. What we're going to do is we're going to take like a title, a subtitle. We're going to include the body of text like this, and we also want to include like a button, not like, well, kind of similar to this, where we have like this circle and we hover over it, and if we click it, it does this nice little ripple effect. Okay, so let's start putting that part of our component together, the actual code that creates this card. So most of this is going to come from this card component.tsx file. Now in here at the moment, there's a lot of code, like far too much. We don't need all of this. We can delete a lot of it. So let's do that first before we do anything else. First, I'm going to change this to any. I'm going to remove all of this. We don't need the state variable. We also don't need this name variable as well, but I'm going to keep it in here for now, because this is how we pass arguments to our card. So we're going to have like title, subtitle, body, and link. We're going to remove the theme. We don't need this. We do want to include something here. So this is where we like return the actual HTML that controls our the look and actual structure of our code. Okay, so I'm going to remove these functions that we have here as well. Don't need any of these. These are all very specific to that default component that we saw. And then the rest, so the rest of this are actually, we do need. I'm just going to remove, we don't need so many comments for sure. So, yeah, that's basically everything we can remove. And I'm also going to just clean this up, or just remove everything actually for now. So we'll leave it like this. Okay, so this here is, at its very core, what we need in our component, in our React component. So if we switch over to the hosted version of our component now, we should see that's pretty much, well, it should pretty much be empty. So here, okay, so now we just have this, you click 0 times, but that like click me part of the component, that's not there anymore. It doesn't exist. Okay, I mean it is actually still there, but it's just some empty span tags. There's nothing we can actually see. So Now what I want to do, let's modify this so that we can have a different app or a different way of viewing our component. So come over to init.py. Okay, I'm just going to put, this is like test 1. We have our component, and then I'm going to include this divider, test 2. I'm going to remove all this, let me do that. Remove this, okay. And then here I'm just going to put hello, anything really. Oh, and also remove this. Okay. Rerun. Okay, now we just get this. Now let's add something to our component. So if I go to here, let's go to the card component TSX. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, paste it a few times, and I'm going to include the sort of components or the parts of our card. So I want to have a title, subtitle, a body, and a link. Okay, and we'll just rename these as well. The title. Okay, remove that as well now. So now, if I switch back over to the localhost and rerun, we're probably going to get an error. I would expect to see some sort of error. Okay, so actually, okay, that's fine. So at the moment, we have that name and everything in there, but they're not being used, and they're also not being passed to our component. If we look at our code in init.py, we're just passing this one parameter, and we're also passing key. Now, our component doesn't include any of those. It actually includes these like title, subtitle, body, and link. So how do we add those in? We head over to init.py and scroll up a little bit, and we see the definition of our component. This acts as like the middleman between our component. This actually should be called a component, and later on we should be calling this card component as well. Do we have any other my components? Okay, seems fine. So in here we are accepting just name. We don't want to accept just name. We want to accept all the other stuff as well. So I'm going to just remove most of this. And I'm going to swap this out for, let's go title. Maybe we don't need to do that. Title, subtitle, body, and also link. Okay, so we pass those in, and then in our component function, we also need to pass those. So let's go title, subtitle, body, link. Now we can remove these other parts for now, so we don't need this key. Key is useful if you have multiple components and they have a certain action on them. So you, for example, press to expand them. You want to include key as you would pass just like a random number to each version of that component, and that allows Streamlit to identify each of those individual versions of your component as actual independent components. So when you press the action, expand one, it doesn't expand all of them. But we don't have any actions, I don't think, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay. We also don't need to return any component value. So before, where we saw it was saying like we would click and it was increasing that number. That's what was going on there, but we're not doing that for our component. We're just displaying some information rather than modifying anything. Okay, now if we switch back to our local host, we probably see an error. So we rerun, and we get this type error, card component missing 3 required positional arguments. Now, the reason for that is because when we're actually calling our component later on in .py, we're only passing a single parameter to it, which is, I think, hello and world. So we need to pass at least 4, okay, 1 for each of these arguments that we have. So let's have a look at that in here. Okay, so we have card component, and we're passing, at the moment, this is just a title. We want to pass, okay, let's say do title, subtitle, have some random text here for the body. Now we also want to have a link. So I'm going to go, we'll just do google.com. Okay, and then let's just copy this component. And this doesn't return anything, so let's remove this as well. So let's copy that. And this is going to be number 2, so this is going to be title 2. Add some more text in here, and yeah, we'll just leave it with Google. It's fine. I don't need to change too much. Now let's have a look at our localhost. So rerun, and now we have this. So we still don't have anything in there. Let's have a look at why. Let's try and figure that out. So we have our card component, creates this. Let's have a look in here. Okay, so at the moment we just have span. Okay, we're not actually showing any of these parameters that we've passed to our component. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's wrap everything in a div. And then I'm going to go just get a second heading for the title. So to pass our actual variables into here, we just use these curly braces. For subtitle. And then we also want to include the body. So body, and also a link. So for that we'll just use a ref, again using the curly braces in here as well. So link, same called this link. Now let's have a look at what we get. Okay, so we can see that we have our component now. We have the title, subtitle, some random text for the body, link. Click that, and it will, or it should take us to Google. It doesn't seem to work at the moment. I'm not going to worry about that now, but we'll make sure we get it working for the actual card. Okay, so we have the key components there, but we need to actually format this into a material UI card. So let's go and figure that out. When we come to here, we'll copy this one, or maybe so an earlier one. Yeah, I'll copy this one. It's outline card here. Okay, so there's a few things in here we need to make sure we include. So we have these imports. So we have the card actions. That's where we have like the button, or where we will place a button. So I'm going to import all of those. Into here. Save that. And then we also want to include all of this stuff here. So we have a card. I'm going to just copy all of that. And let me paste it after our link here so I can keep track of everything. To typography. Okay. So we also need to add a card around this. I'll figure it out in a minute. No worries. So let's remove a few things. So we have typography. I want to, so the body, I'm going to include in here. Other typographies we just remove. I don't really want those. Button. We're going to modify all of this. So let's just leave it like that. Let's remove those. And now we should see a card. Just open this. Let's have a look. Okay, so we kind of see, we actually just have this, the contents of the card. We don't actually have the card. That's because we also need to add the card tag in there as well. So if we just do card, the variant is outlined. Is it in here? Here. So so this bit here should be, everything should outline. Have this on the outside. So basically all of this in here, let's scroll up, all this constant card is actually being inserted into this. So it's been wrapped within card. So that's why we can't actually see it at the moment. So add this, and it should work now. We should be able to see something. Okay, so now we have our card. So we have the body of that, but we need to include title, subtitle, and this learn more is a button at the moment, but I want to make it like an icon button. So we'll modify that as well. So let's return to this. I want to include the card header. So if I go here, card header, and here we're going to have the title and also the subtitle. So we have title and I think subheader. Subtitle, and we just close that tag like that. Let's have a look. Okay, so cool. We have our title with subtitle now. It's looking better. Another thing that I'd like to include is a bit of padding here. So I'm going to write style, and we add some padding, which is going to be 0.5 rem. Okay, so this just means if we have multiple cards next to each other, they're not going to be touching. There's going to be a bit of space between them. Okay, so it looks pretty good, I think. We just need to include the actual button. Okay, so buttons are a little bit different. Do we have an example on a card? Okay, here we have these buttons. That's basically what we want. So let's have a look at how that is done. So we see we have this icon button. So we have card actions here, and then we have icon button. So I'm going to copy this, place it in card actions. I'm going to replace this one here. We don't want that. Okay, icon button. It's going to be like open URL. And for share icon, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, I think it's expand icon is the one I want. So I'm going to change this to expand icon. And we want to modify this. So, oh, sorry, we need to import everything. So we see at the moment it says cannot find name icon buttons because we haven't imported it at the top. No, we can remove this one as well now. So let's do that. So let's have a look at our example again. Is it this one? No. This example, we have icon button here. Okay, so, and we also have a share icon. So let me copy that across. Okay, and it's launch icon, I think. I think I wrote expand icon. Yep, so launch icon instead. And we import that. So we write import launch icon from, and here we're going to use the icons material that we installed in the previous video. So icons material, and it's launch, yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like now. Okay, so we have this little launch icon. It doesn't do anything at the moment because we don't have any URL in there. We haven't connected up our link yet, so let's do that. So we need to pass that into the icon button part here. So we have ref, as we did before, and we just pass in our link. And then another thing, so okay, let me save that. So it should rerun it. Okay, so now it's going blue. Don't think it was doing that before because it's an actual link, but it's still not opening anything. We need to. The reason for that is because Streamlit is displaying all this through a iframe, which is like an embedded web page within the web page. So it's actually opening it within that iframe, but at the moment it's like not working. It's just not opening anything. It's just because it's kind of being, I think it's being blocked by Streamlit or something along those lines. I'm not sure. So what we want to say is we want to open it in the parent browser of the iframe to target this actual window. So to do that, we need to add in here, we need to modify the target. So target is going to be equal to underscore parent. Now save that and try again. Okay, now it's working again. Okay. Cool. So there are cards. One other thing we need to just see here is the actual font is different to the MUI font. If we look here, it looks a lot nicer in here. That's because they're using the Roboto font. Now to implement that, we need to, can't remember where it is on here, and maybe we can search at the top. Roboto font CDN. Okay, yeah, so we can just copy this. So we need to npm install in our front end directory this. So this is going to install the Roboto font for us. So I'm going to open another terminal window. Okay. Navigate to the front end directory. And we do npm install. Okay. Once that has installed, let's switch back to here. We just need to import it into our card component.tsx. So we'll go to the top and just going to write a comment. So import font, paste that and save. And now this should look a little bit nicer. Okay, so now it's definitely using the Roboto font. It looks cleaner. So that's everything for the component. I don't think there's anything else. Obviously, in designing your own component, you might want to make it more fancy, add some other things in there. But for this, I think that's everything that I'd like to cover. In the next video, what we're going to do is have a look at how to actually set this up for distribution, so other people can install your component and actually use it in their own Streamlit apps. So that's also pretty interesting and pretty straightforward. There's not too much to do there. The bulk of the work is what we've just done. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that has been useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.